You are going to play me at the collision.
Fine. You're seeing two of the best teams of all time. We won one, they won one. Let's let this third one decide it once and for all.
On today's show, Mama Clump's favorite actor is in Episode 9. Larry David's roommate is in Spider-Man Homecoming. And Joe Manganiello joins us in studio to talk D&D, Comic-Con, and a whole lot more. Movie Talk starts right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk. My name is merely Mark Ellis. You don't have to worry about me. That's Perri Nemiroff. That is Jeff Sneider. And in just about 10 to 15 minutes, Joe Manganiello will be joining us for the rest of the show to talk D&D, his new clothing line, and all things San Diego Comic-Con. We're going to be kind of previewing Comic-Con as we get into the bulk of this show. Comic-Con is not this weekend. It's next weekend. That's right. We're the first game in town to preview all things Comic-Con. Perri Nemiroff, I know you're going.
I am going.
And I hear you're hosting panels.
I'm very excited. I'm not allowed to talk about anything just yet, but hopefully there will be something on the lineup that I could tell you guys about soon.
Some sort of announcement, and the big announcement, I think, is that Jeff Sneider will also be at Comic-Con, question mark?
No, I will not be at Comic-Con. I've never actually been. I told you guys, I'm waiting for the Crow. When the Crow is there, I'll be there.
Well, I mean, the Crow has had a lot of iterations, and we've heard a lot of things about the Crow. Maybe you're the guy that's holding back Crow scoops.
I think I should be the Crow, frankly, at this point, because I'm ready to kick some ass.
Jeff Sneider ready to be the Crow, and that would get him down to Comic-Con maybe next year, kids. Sorry, I know a lot of people wanted to meet Jeff. We'll just have to wait until 2000.
Someone's got to man the fort here, Ellis.
I feel like someone's going to be walking around Comic-Con now and see someone dressed up as the Crow. Like, are you Jeff Sneider?
All I want to see, because I've seen
Jeff Sneider.
People have cosplayed as Mark Riley at conventions. They've cosplayed as John Roca at conventions. I want to see somebody cosplay as Jeff Sneider. If you can cosplay as Sneider, hell, I might be cosplaying as Sneider. You just wear some board shorts, some sunglasses. It's really all you have to do. Our first story. Speaking of next year, 2019, there's a little movie called Episode 9. What's the title? I don't have that for you today, but I do know that Billy D. Williams is set to be reprising his role, finally, as Lando Calrissian. We thought this might happen in Episode 7. Then we thought this might happen in Episode 8, and now it appears it's finally set to go in Episode 9. So my first question for you, Jeff Sneider, what took us so long to get Billy D back in the galaxy far, far away?
I have no idea. I mean, they brought back Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Luke. So why not bring back Lando? He seems like a very well-liked figure in Star Wars culture. Not that I know much about that. But I don't know. To me, I don't necessarily want to see all these old folks from the original trilogy in the new ones. I want to just see new characters. So to me, it's not Lando. It's Landon't.
Oh, well, how long did it take you to practice that one? Look,
all morning.
I'm excited to see Lando in the movie for sure, but I don't agree with you. I don't want to see the old characters back because I love the old characters. But did you feel the same way about The Force Awakens, that you didn't want to see the old guard returning?
Like it was enough for me in that movie, though. Like that was sort of the bridge, like between the original trilogy and this new one. And I like the passing of the torch, so to speak, symbolically. But yeah, I don't need to see everybody trotted out for a curtain call.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Perri, I loved Episode 7 and 8, so I didn't miss Lando. It would have been nice to have seen him, and we all speculated that we would see Lando in Episode 8 in some sort of like Han funeral scene where we're saying goodbye. Maybe Han has the Viking funeral on a boat somewhere, and Lando's on that boat. We did not get that scene. Do you think that we see something of him that is going to be prominent in Episode 9, or do you think it's just going to be a cameo that would probably piss off Jeff Sneider?
Can I go with something in the middle of that?
More than a cameo, less than a prominent role.
You know, I'm not all that surprised that it took this long to bring him back to the franchise, and I had assumed that they would. I'm with you. I didn't miss him in the other films, but I think it's because it was populated with other strong, familiar characters. And, you know, I've been rooting for new characters and new adventures and new places in the Star Wars film franchise for a while, but what I do think they did really well was work the old guard in with the new guard to the point that it's about them passing on their experience and their lessons. And I think think now that we've lost so many of those characters, this is Lando's opportunity to kind of, you know, honor the memory of his friends while continuing to pass on the good they did in the universe. So I think we're going to see him swoop in that respect, where maybe he receives the call and he kind of steps up to the plate and helps out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're at that time when they're going to be a very desperate group of people in the Resistance that need some sort of help from whatever corner of the galaxy they can. It does feel weird that Lando hasn't like showed up yet, but I don't know what he's been doing for the last 30 years, so maybe he's got a good excuse. And I think either way, it's going to be nice to see Lando on screen. I don't need him to have a big role. I don't need him to factor into the plot all that heavy. It'd be nice to see him. It'd be nice for him to lend some help, and then he can go about his merry way, simply because that's the guy that Lando was when we met him. He was a guy who was looking out for himself. I think that he became something more of that by the end of Return of the Jedi. Maybe it was him having lunch with Donald Glover, and he's like, you know what, this is pretty fun, and maybe this is a nice send-off for me in this universe, so it's not the worst thing in the world. You hear about this casting news, you hear about Kerry Russell casting news. How much more casting are we going to get before everybody's locked and we're shooting this thing?
Well, what was the last quote that we heard from whoever reported the Kerry Russell news? Was that there is a possibility that we'll get 2 more casting announcements before production officially starts, I believe?
That was actually the number I was going to say. Yeah, I think it's 2 more.
Is it still 2, or was Billy D one of them?
No, I think it's still 2. I think there's an older female character, and then I'm not sure what the other one might be.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait on that. Maybe it's somebody to play Lobot, because if you got Lando, you can't have Lando without Lobot. That's his cell phone.
Not betting on Lobot again.
Oh,
the Lobot play made me lose a point in scoreboard on Solo. Forget it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry. The Lobot doesn't show for Solo. You're not invited to episode 9. I still want you. Okay, we'll start with our next story, and that is that Jeremy Renner is signed on to star opposite Jamie Foxx in the new Spawn movie. There's a Spawn. It's not a Crow movie, but it's a Spawn movie. We heard about Spawn for a while, too. It's officially happening. Jamie Foxx is in it, and Blumhouse is the maker of the movie. Original creator Todd McFarlane is making his directorial debut. Renner's going to play Detective Williams, and basically Spawn is King Arthur, and Twitch is his Sir Lancelot. Hey, he's his Lobot. So basically, Jeremy Renner's going to be the Lobot to Spawn's Lando Calrissian. That's what we're looking at. That's according to director Todd McFarlane. We don't have a release date just yet. Perri Nemiroff, you hear Jeremy Renner is joining the cast. We were looking at this thing as a low-budget kind of, looking at a horror movie. Spawn's not going to talk a lot, so it's going to be a classic Blumhouse model, but now we have 2 big stars in this flick.
That makes me feel hopeful. I would assume that it's because they see something special in what they've got cooking. I know this project is kind of a long time coming, and the more it comes together, the more excited I am about it. Spawn really wasn't at the top of my list when talk first started to get going, but you add Jamie Foxx, now you add Jeremy Renner, and with Blumhouse involved, I am intrigued. I need to see a little more. I'm curious to see what names are added from here, but I just kind of got a kick out of that quote that McFarlane had said in the announcement when he's talking about Jeremy Renner, the character doesn't need to be a bodybuilder or GQ handsome. I think Jeremy Renner is very handsome. Maybe not, he's not like, has a classic look that makes him look like everybody. I think he's very handsome.
Wow, Perri Nemiroff. Yeah, I mean, look, maybe it's 9 pounds of makeup they're throwing on Renner every day to make him look like that leading man. Jeff Sneider, his looks aside, do you think that he is going to be the right guy to fit this role?
I don't know the character of Twitch. I hated the original Spawn. I think it's one of the worst movies ever made. So so in that sense, I get that it is a decent property to remake because the original is so bad. I think Renner's casting is a boon for this project. I think he's a little bit too good for a Spawn movie. So in that regard, to have Renner and Fox in a film like this, Blumhouse should consider itself very lucky. If they can keep the budget down, and I read on Deadline yesterday it was going to be around $12 million, that seems a little low, but even if it goes up to 15 or 20, it feels like this film can be profitable. So it's a smart business decision, but I do wish that Jeremy Renner was making better choices, because I think he's just straight up better than this material.
You think this is a bad choice? Because let's look at the material on the landscape of the comic book and not necessarily just the 1997 movie. The comic book, it's a very popular book that people have been wanting a good movie from that for a long time.
And I'll give you that. I haven't read the comic, but to me, what makes me skeptical is really Todd McFarlane directing. First-time director. He's never done it before, so I get that he's a great comic book creator and artist, but does he really have what it takes to direct an Oscar winner and a 2-time Oscar nominee? I don't know.
We don't know that, but at least he has an understanding of the material, and my mind immediately goes to another first-time feature filmmaker who stepped in with Blumhouse and excelled. So
right, Jordan Peele. She's getting that.
I would think if they aligned, then they believe in him. He's got something.
Just give me the soundtrack that Spawn had, okay? If you can give me a soundtrack on that level, I'll be happy, because that's a great soundtrack.
I mean, you can use any first-time filmmaker as an excuse, though, which I love. Like, I remember a little guy making a car chase movie in 1971 called Duel.
I think he's made some shorts. I'm not going to say you can't make a good movie as a first-time filmmaker, but it's rare.
All right, hey, you're making the rookie earn his stripes. Nothing wrong with that. I have Spawn issue #1. It's a great series. Maybe I'll see if you can sign it.
Yeah, maybe I'll borrow it from you.
You're not going to borrow any of my comic books. You're not allowed to get your fingerprints on them. Our next story is JB Smoove is going to be in the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie. You probably know JB is a hilarious comedian. Gotten the pleasure of working with him many times, and he also is on Curb Your Enthusiasm, amongst other things. He pops into a lot of movies. This is going to be another one. Seems like he's going to have a pretty prominent role in this one, though. Is that what you're hearing, Jeff?
Again, I'm not sure. I can't speak to the size of the role. It seems like there's never that much room for a lot of tertiary characters, because you've got Spider-Man and usually 1 or 2 villains. Maybe he's playing a villain. He looks badass in that photo right there. I hope that he's playing J. Jonah Jameson. I think he would be perfect in that role. I think that this universe needs that character, so that's what I'm hoping for. As to the size of the role, we'll have to wait and see.
That's a really good point. Because Spider-Man Homecoming went by so quickly, and Spider-Man got thrown into this universe, and it's like, oh, Spider-Man, and they're fighting a bunch of superhero and bad guys and all this stuff, and then we forget, oh yeah, Spider-Man has this own thing that he's setting up, and part of that is that he likes taking pictures. He wants to work for a newspaper. J. Jonah Jameson is the guy giving him a lot of hell. So if you take out J.K. Simmons from the previous iteration of Spider-Man, this could be the J. Jonah Jameson.
I'm rooting for it to pan out exactly like that. Because originally when I heard this headline, I was thinking, it's going to be, because we had a whole bunch of big casting announcements for the first Spider-Man Homecoming movie, and then a lot of those people ended up with a couple of minutes of screen time.
Right.
Given how they said a lead in the ensemble, if they use that kind of language, maybe it's a more prominent role in this ensemble. And we need the Daily Bugle, or at least I think we need it. That was always one thing that spoke to me most about the character of Spider-Man as a journalism major who was kind of clawing at opportunities in that field for so long. I like that part of his life, and I want to see it in this iteration of the film.
You're a city kid. You grew up in New York City.
Exactly.
You know those streets. Did you read the Daily Bugle every day?
I used to hide cameras all around Manhattan, and then I would jump over cars and stuff. I just kept all those photos to myself.
Being a superhero is very dangerous work. All right, I didn't want to do this, but the chat room won't let it go. So I need to get your guys' take on this. So let's go back to the Lando story just for a minute. Is Lando going to make it out of episode 9? Or you can't kill Lando. You just can't do it.
I was reading the comment section of the Collider News video from yesterday, and I couldn't believe the percentage of folks who really think that he's going to die. You can't repeat the same story beat over and over.
Or maybe you can.
No, you can't.
Star Wars.
No, you can't. And I'm a firm believer that, one, they're not going to repeat a similar story beat and take away from what I think were excellent and well done cinematic deaths for some very important characters in that franchise. They're not going to do that, and we can't lose him. We can't lose him. We need something from the old guard to, no matter what they do next with those other films, it is important to have a little bit of that foundation continue and live on in that franchise.
Jeff Sneider.
Bury the guy, and I'll sing Amazing Grace at his funeral.
Oh, my
Jesus
gosh.
Christ.
Holy.
Leave the past in the past.
All right, look, I'm going to try to be the middleman here. I'm going to say that I don't want him to. I think he's going to make a cameo. He's going to pop in, help out, shoot some TIE fighters, wave, and then him and Lobot are going to get the hell out of there and back to Cloud City. I don't think he's going to die, but look, we've seen stranger things happen in Star Wars. So if Lando Calrissian, if you're out there somewhere in the galaxy watching, you may want to call your friends at Colonial Penn. Get those life insurance forms filled out before Episode 9 rolls cameras. I want to see you make it out of there alive. Well, like I said, we're going to be doing a Comic-Con preview later on today. One of the biggest things at it's maybe not the biggest thing at Comic-Con, but I'm excited about it. I'm doing a special stand-up show at American Comedy Company. It's me, a bunch of special guests, Friday night, 10 p.m. Here's a quick promo. Hey, everyone. Mark Ellis here. I'm a comedian, and I'm thrilled thrilled to be once again doing stand-up at San Diego Comic-Con. This time it's at American Comedy Company, Friday night. We'll have somebody check that. Can we look up what the Friday night is? July 20th at 10 p.m. You can get tickets right now at my website. Use the promo code Schmoes for a special discount. See, the show's at 10 p.m. because I figure you, the Comic-Con goer, can have time to go to the convention and enjoy all that stuff. And then you get time to shower because you're not just going to be seeing me, you're going to be seeing other people. Let's be honest, there's a lot of germs at Comic-Con. Sanitize yourself. Maybe even one might consider special guests. So there could be some other people that you might not expect to see. Here's how you get your tickets. Cue the Satriani. You might see some special guests. Friday night, 10 p.m. You can get tickets at markelslive.com. Use promo code Schmoes. Without further ado, that is not the biggest thing at Comic-Con, as Sneider so eloquently pointed out. Maybe one of the biggest things at Comic-Con is a gentleman sitting to my right, and that is the one, the only Mr. Joe Manganiello joining us in studio. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great.
It's good to have you here. I know there's a lot to talk about with, you're very excited about your new clothing line, and that's going to be at Comic-Con. There's a lot of other stuff that you may or may not be involved in at Comic-Con. Can we start with Dungeons & Dragons, though?
Let's do it.
I know you're a huge fan of Dungeons & Dragons, and that and the clothing line has kind of intermixed ways that you're going to be having at Comic-Con next year. Can you tell us a little bit about the genesis of those two things coming together?
That's right. Yeah, I am a big fan of D&D. I was growing up as a kid, but then, you get a job or girls happen, you wind up going to college, and so I stopped playing for about 20-odd years. I think a big part of that, too, was when I grew up, D&D was deemed satanic. That we were kids, we were messing with spell books and evil satanic rituals, which couldn't be further from the truth. And I think what happened was it really interrupted, I think, a lot of the aesthetic, the style of that time. I mean, if you think about Dungeons & Dragons, it's skeletons, it's death knights, it's dragons, fire, lightning, like heavy metal. But I think it had to move away from that in order to preserve itself in a way. There were mass book burnings, sure. Parents, churches were burning these books. But what also happened during that period was Dungeons & Dragons tripled in popularity.
Yeah, I mean, anything that gets associated with Satan, it becomes cooler. And then, if you look at rock music or you look at even Harry Potter books, people always want to rebel against that kind of stuff because they think there's hidden messages or the satanic meaning. I grew up playing Magic the Gathering. That was my D&D. And it's the same kind of thing when you apply that to, hey, I love playing this game and it's been through ups and downs in popularity. And I think one of the reasons why it's back in such a strong way is that it's just one of these nostalgic things that people like you and I look back on in our youth and we're like, oh, yeah, those are some of the best days of my life, sure. Getting to do that stuff. And then as adults that have disposable income, we're like, hey, that's what I want to, I don't want to spend it on life insurance. I don't want to spend it on a 401k. I want to spend it on Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons. And you are such a fan of this that you actually became a professional as far as you wrote a script for a potential Dungeons and Dragons movie. I remember hearing about this last year, right?
Well, yes. When the rights were at Warner Brothers, I wound up writing a script to help, illustrate how I thought the story could be broken. Now, the rights wound up moving, and et cetera, and we're into a whole other era, which we can't talk about right now, or at least nobody's ready to talk about right now.
Right.
But back to what you were saying about the nostalgia. I mean. Yeah, that's true. I think me and my generation, our psyches, me as an artist creatively, I was incredibly shaped by what I did with Dungeons & Dragons as a kid. I learned how to write. I learned how to develop characters. I learned how to tell a long-form narrative, like in terms of like episodic storytelling. So now I live in LA. I'm in the entertainment industry, and everybody else who runs the entertainment industry, the directors, the writers, the comedians, the actors, we all grew up playing. So we all get together and play on the weekends, and there's tons of groups all over LA that play. So we all started doing it again. But what I noticed was that as far as my aesthetic goes, in terms of what I wear, in terms of like streetwear,
yeah,
there was a hole in the marketplace. So I got together with a couple designers, one of which this drum and bass DJ Diesel Boy, who was like one of the biggest D&D heads of all time. He actually released an album years ago called The Dungeon Master's Guide, and he has every single old module on his shelf. I got together and said, listen, let's make a line of streetwear using the palette of D&D, but like let's blow it out. Let's make it badass. Let's go back to the heavy metal roots as if the Satanic Panic never happened. Like, let's just lean into that. And I brought you a jacket. So this is a company.
Look at this.
The company is Death Saves.
Ooh, I like it.
And on the back, this is the first piece of artwork that we had commissioned.
Look at that. That's an Iron Maiden album cover right there.
Yeah, right.
That was your nickname in high school, Mark, right? Death Knight?
I actually went by Diesel Boy in high school, but now I can go by Death Knight.
So this is a deep dive. This is Saint Kargoth, who is the first Death Knight who showed up in D&D in 1983. He was a paladin who fell to the dark side. And this is the first piece. This is our first jacket.
Oh, very nice.
So
well,
for you.
I'm going to toss this baby on Perri Nemiroff. What, did you play D&D growing up? Did you get into that stuff?
I didn't, which is very strange because I feel like everything about it just suits my interest. I grew up playing a lot of Warcraft.
Sure.
I think I kind of just skipped that. And I actually collected Magic the Gathering cards, but I never actually learned how to play.
Oh, you got to hang on to them. They're worth like $40,000 now.
I swear the next time I go to New York, I'll bring you back a shoebox filled with cards, and who knows what's
Do you have a Black Lotus in there?
That thing's worth like $9,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I need to do some homework.
Before you give it away, well, no, actually, I probably just ruined
Joe,
it
you're
for you.
killing me.
I
You're killing my
know.
rent here, man.
No, next time I go home to New York, I'm going to go and get them like appraised or something and never come back.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally retire off that. My mom's closet is worth $50,000 right now.
Are my Pogs worth anything or
Pogs,
no?
I'm not sure. Pogs were cool. The slammers kind of damaged them too much.
Okay, wait. I have questions about. I don't know what
Okay.
you're willing to say about
Hit
your
me.
script or even what's coming up with Allspark Productions, but I'm a big horror fan, and the whole satanic idea that really does pique my interest. So when you write something like that, something that's going to a studio, is supposed to have a wide appeal, probably a very big budget, do you go into what you loved so much at the beginning, or are you focused on making something that parents can take their kids to?
Well, for me, the trick, I think, with what was going on with the script was that they were looking at a blank canvas and they were having trouble figuring out how to break the story. I mean, the Dungeons and Dragons universe it's expansive. I mean, it's almost 50 years worth of just a library of material, and I think that can be incredibly daunting. I had an idea on how to break it based on some existing characters that weren't necessarily being looked at, that did fall under the rights and under the umbrella of Dungeons & Dragons. So I stepped in and said, well, why look at a blank canvas when you can take this group of amazing, well-known characters and bring them to life? So for me, it wasn't necessarily thinking about the age or making it age appropriate. It was more about being true to these characters and to the authors that created them.
Good answer. I like that. I had a question though about who do you play D&D with in this town? Because can you out anybody? Can you name some names, Joe?
Okay.
Who would you be surprised by?
Jeez. I mean, I think these guys would be okay with it. My regular home group currently is Taron Killam from Saturday Night Live, Brad Payton, who directed Rampage, his producing partner Jeff Fearson, who produced Rampage. At my house, James Gunn's been over to play. Cool. Let's see, there's been like a bunch of Upright Citizen Brigade comedians. I don't know if you remember on Key and Peele, there was this sketch about Dungeons and Dragons where this character's name was Kanye. And so the guy who wrote that sketch, Charlie Sanders. Charlie used to DM at my home group. There's a bunch of executives that play, writers that play.
Do you guys talk shop and in the industry when they come over, or do you kind of just keep that separate and we're here to have fun and just focus on the game?
Well, I think everybody's pretty serious. They want to get to the story. They want to go. Because for example, I'm DMing this Tyranny of Dragons campaign right now, and so it's like you don't want to hang out in the commercials. You want to get back to the show. Sure. So, but I will say that in between turns, sometimes it's tough to corral people because everybody's getting together and they're having fun. And, like Kyle Newman, for example,
Fanboys, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Kyle Kyle likes to hang out. He likes to be really social, and sometimes it's tough to rope Kyle. Like, Kyle, I love you, but it's true. And so, but I think most of the guys are pretty serious about it. One of the most serious, my trainer of the past 8 years, who won the CrossFit Games Masters competition a few years ago, who is the biggest fantasy nerd you'll ever meet in your life, and he's like, make sure everybody's on a really short leash because he wants to play.
Where are the D&D ladies? Do you have a ladies line for your clothing line?
That's well, ladies can wear any of the clothes.
Okay.
It's unisex.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, if I look good in it, it's pretty easy for
wanna see
anybody
Perri
else
in
to
that
look.
jacket.
I feel like I'll need an extra small in that jacket.
But we have a lot of we have some collabs coming up, and we have a ladies specific line that we're currently in the works for, and we have some other collaborations down the line that are falling into place as well.
It's crazy to me that so many creative people come together in this industry to play D&D, and it has taken so long to get this movie, a new movie off the ground.
Well, I think the rights were in knots for years, and I think that was really difficult. It was really difficult to untie those knots, and then also to, I guess, get the film into the hands of people that really understood the property, and I think that's happening, or at least that's in the works. I mean, I can't speak out of school about anything that's happening right now, but I know that that it is going to wind up in good hands.
It's one of those things where it kind of reminds me of like a popular anime property where there's such a huge fan base for it, but you have to please the hardcore fan base. And if you do not please the hardcore fan base with the movie, then it's tough for that to cross over into the rest of the public. I think Warcraft was a step in the right direction, but if I look at a movie like Magic the Gathering, like that's a very tough movie to pull off because it's so expansive. It's like if you just focus on one color mana, or if you just focus on one group of warriors or wizards or whatever you want to do, it feels like how do you do a movie where it's not ignoring the rest of this entire universe? Well,
I think for me, speaking as a fan, but also speaking as someone in entertainment, I think Dungeons and Dragons spent so many years not being cool. Mm-hmm. Being something that, if you brought it up, it was going to start a fight. Somebody was going to say something like,
with you?
I was going to say, yeah. Really? You play that stupid game? I mean, it's like I went to my 15-year high school reunion and I bumped into a guy that I played Dungeons and Dragons with, and immediately we were like, oh my god, you remember that adventure and da. And his wife came over and she said, are you talking about that stupid game again? And I thought, why would you say that? Like
they got divorced a couple years after that.
That's why you never bring your significant other to high school reunions. That is, it's for you to talk to somebody you took to prom. That's it.
So she, and then we kept talking, and eventually we got to the typical reunion fare, which is, well, what do you do? And she had no idea what I did. And I said, oh, that stupid game we played as kids, I do that for a living. And she was like, what? And I said, no, I play a guy who turns into a wolf on a show about fairies and vampires. It's the #1 show on cable. And my friend spit his drink out and started laughing. But that's the way it was treated. For some reason, there was this, this societal stigma that it was just okay to talk that way about it. And I think as far as a movie goes or a series goes, just make something cool. Because when my wife asked me, well, what are you doing down in the basement? I say, well, you like Lord of the Rings, right? Or you respect Lord of the Rings? Yeah. Okay, well, it's that. You like Game of Thrones, right? Well, Game of Thrones is a very political version of what we play. But it's basically like it's the Avengers. It's the Avengers in Middle Earth, and so I think if you make something that's cool, that D&D fans can be proud of, you've done your job. You don't need to do that much fan service. You just need to make something cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen at some point down the road. When we don't know that yet, but we do know that something cool is coming your way next weekend if you're going to be on hand at Comic-Con in San Diego, because this clothing line, you guys have your own booth down there. You guys are going to be doing this pretty big next weekend.
Bait is hosting us. So we're going to be at Bait's shop. I'm going to start. It's all day on the 19th. The first pieces are going to be sold. I'm going to be working the register 1 to 3, signing whatever you want. And then we're going to have a big blowout party that night. DJ Z-Trip has come up with a D&D metal set that we're hoping is going to be available and launched to the public shortly after that. And then the next day on Friday, we go live So everybody everywhere will be able to get the
And you
gear.
can get it online and stuff like
Get
that
it
on
anywhere.
Friday.
But the first piece is if you want to walk out of the store wearing them, come down and see me on the 19th at Bait.
That's amazing. It seems like to me, when I think of D&D, the most metal that I can compare it to is like Black Sabbath. After Ozzy left and got kicked out of Black Sabbath and Ronnie James Dio took over, like you listen to that, that is the best soundtrack to play D&D to. Just something for you kids to piss your parents off a little bit extra when you're in the basement all day playing D&D. Let's get into some Comic-Con talk, because we did want to preview Comic-Con, and there's so many big announcements that movie studios make, that comic book studios make. Going down that weekend, it's always an exciting thing for us because I'm just a fan, and we all are. We love covering these kind of things. So let's just go through each day in Hall H. That's the biggest hall. That's where you get these huge announcements, 7,000 people deep, and they all get very excited to see breaking news, footage, trailers, all that kind of stuff. And Hall H kicks off in a very impressive way for me, and that is Thursday morning. We get a Predator panel, and then we later in the day are going to have something I think is really cool in Hall H. It's a Breaking Bad 10th anniversary panel. Has it really been 10 years since it started or since it ended? That is, Breaking Bad is just, it's one of the all-time great shows. They're going to have a panel with, I know, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, etc. Vince Gilligan are going to be there. That's really exciting stuff. Joe, I give you that slate on Thursday. You're going to be busy. What are you going to be most upset that you missed in Hall H?
Oh man, well I'd love to see. I was a huge fan of Breaking Bad, so. But I'm also, Shane Black, Pittsburgh guy. I was a huge fan of Predator. When I first talked to Brad Payton about doing Rampage, he pitched it to me as a mini Predator inside of Rampage with you as Dutch. I said, Brad, I'm in.
Nice.
That's a pretty good synopsis of what Predator, at least what we hope it could be. So, Perri, if I use Pittsburgh sports lingo to describe your excitement for Predator, the original one is Terry Bradshaw. Could this one be Ben Roethlisberger and lead it back to prominence?
Oh, with the sports stuff. Predator is up there for me, but I'm backtracking to Wednesday night, because Wednesday night is New Line's Scare Diego event. And I went last year with Riley, and we had so much fun. They had stuff from It. The kids from It were there. They screened Annabelle Creation, and they also showed off the very first little teaser for The Nun. And I hear this year there's something more from The Nun, and I'm a huge Conjuring
Do we get to see the entire Nun?
It doesn't sound... So I think Deadline had the exclusive on that, and I think the way they phrased it was the Nun footage, but I'll take whatever I can get. And then apparently there's also going to be something from It Chapter 2 there, so that is my top priority when I get there.
It's weird to say, do we get to see the entire Nun? I didn't mean that. I just want to see the Nun movie. That's all I want to see.
I'm so happy my mind didn't go there.
It's Sister Act 3. It gets very, very dark. Jeff, Predator, Breaking Bad, either one of these move the needle for somebody who's going to be lounging during Comic-Con up here in Los Angeles?
I love Breaking Bad. I think it's one of the greatest shows of all time. So I think that promises to be a really exciting panel. I look forward to reading the reports out of Hall H and seeing what was said there. But I think I will really miss Predator. That's one I'm really looking forward to as a Shane Black fan, as a huge fan of the original, and someone who didn't really love where the Predator franchise went after that original. So I'm hoping that Shane Black can sort of restore it to luster.
Am I on an island by myself? The Predators movie that Nimrod Antel directed?
I
thought that's
okay.
awesome.
That was okay.
Yeah, with Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
They're on another island. It's
I was thinking Predator 2 and Alien vs. Predator and how it got a little silly. But yeah, Predators wasn't bad.
Yeah, I think that everything I've seen from this movie, I didn't love the trailers that I saw for the new Predator just yet, but I mean, it's a Predator movie. I like the cast. There's a lot of cool gum chewing in it. I'm excied about that.
Does it have jacked biceps? That's what Predator
You
means
need
to me.
that handshake at
Yes.
the beginning. Well, we can't do one half of us can do it. Good to see you.
What's the matter?
Yeah. And then I'm like,
pushing too many pencils.
Mr. Schwarzenegger, I can't go on the mission. My wrist hurts. Sorry. Good luck. All right, we move on to our Friday slate, and the Friday slate includes the typical morning that you get on Friday. You get Fear the Walking Dead and Walking Dead in Hall H, and then that evening, something very exciting happens, and that would be somebody. Perri Nemiroff is probably going to be on hand for that because it's a big horror slate. You get Halloween.
Yes.
You get Glass, and then as horror as you could probably get in the world of comic book movies, that would be Venom is also going to have something that day in Hall H. What are you most excited about?
That's kind of the big day for me. I'm really looking forward to what's coming up on Saturday also, but of all the panels and all the studios that are going to be there, if I had to pick the one to have my eye closest on, it's Universal this year. I can't wait to see some of that stuff. Hopefully, some of the stuff that they showed at CinemaCon, because everyone was freaking out about everything from Glass and Halloween, and we got that really cool Halloween trailer. I thought that was a solid way to start off the promotional campaign, but I want to go home from this panel having nightmares, and I'm terrified of the dentist, so the teeth thing got it going, but I want to see something really freaking scary. Actually, I don't even know if they could do that if there's children in the audience, so maybe I should hold those hopes to the next event, but I'm pumped for Universal.
I think it's going to be a big day there, and something that a lot of people got really excited about after they saw Split, and they're like, oh my God, this ties into the rest of the universe. So now apparently we're going to get the first trailer for Glass that's going to be probably debuted on YouTube around the same time it gets debuted that day. You saw it at CinemaCon.
Yeah, it's great.
Are you pumped to see the first look of Glass?
I loved Unbreakable.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. I mean, three-quarters, or right at the end. It wasn't even until the end. Three-quarters of the way through, you're like, what's going on here? And then you realize this is Superman and Luthor.
Oh, yeah. If you guys are going down to San Diego, do not miss the Glass trailer.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So you saw it. You got to see. Did they show the trailer and more footage at CinemaCon?
I mean, it felt like an extended trailer. I mean, I wasn't sitting there with a stopwatch, but we got a healthy look at footage, and yeah, I think it looks great. I think of all the movies that you just named, though, the one that I'm really going to kick myself for missing is the idea of Danny McBride on that Halloween panel. That could be awesome.
Yeah, Danny McBride is hysterical, and but he also brings a real fandom to the Halloween property.
He's been playing it very serious in interviews. I hope that he sort of loosens up and has some fun with the mythology when he's down there answering questions.
You get that guy in front of a crowd, I'm sure he'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I do like the image of you at conventions with a stopwatch, like a scout doing 40 times, just seeing it. That's a full trailer. That's an extended cut right there. We're gonna move on to Saturday, because Saturday is known as the big day, particularly when you get to Hall H at Comic-Con, because DC movies and Marvel movies both have huge presences there. Marvel not so much this year, so this is really a big year for the DCEU. Joe, are you familiar with the DCEU at all? Do you know what that is?
I'm sorry, the what?
It's a DC extended universe. I'll walk you through it. So they have Superman, they have Batman, they have some new characters, and now they all have become the Justice League together. Ringing any bells for you?
No.
Okay, Sneider, you're really good at cracking people. You want to take a shot at this Destro?
Let's go, Schneider.
I was like, what am I supposed to ask? I can't ask you stuff about the Batman. You're not going to be able to say anything.
You'd
right?
better not be wasting my time.
Ooh, okay. So, are we going to see DC announcing a whole new slate of movies? Could the Deathstroke movie be one of those?
Can you give me like 5 minutes? I'll go make a couple phone calls.
Yeah, see what you can get Toby to sign off on.
That would be really cool if he left and came back. He's like, guys, got some announcements.
All right, so listen, here's how it's going to go down.
Would you, because I know they have panels, they have a lot of stars on panels. Do you have plans to be on the panel? Do you not know what you're doing Saturday?
I'm doing a sci-fi panel on Thursday.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do a sci-fi panel, but otherwise, I'm not doing. What is that company you were just talking about?
The Warner Brothers thing.
I won't be on that panel.
I could put you in touch with some folks over there that I know. They're mostly like the parking attendants that work on the lot, but it's a good way to get started.
There's always next year, Joe.
They probably hear lots of gossip.
That's
yeah,
right.
Sure.
Yeah, next year when you go down for the Crow final,
Yeah, exactly.
you go down for Deathstroke. But look, I'm very excited.
They are looking for a new Crow, Joe. Just throwing that out there.
They're never going to do that movie. It's locked up. I mean, they won't. The rights are. I think this was as close as they're going to get.
Yeah, I thought it was really going to happen.
Unfortunately,
if we all pool our monies, we can buy the rights off Ed Pressman.
Hey, if Perri goes home and she has the right Magic the Gathering
Jeff
cards,
Sneider will be our Crow, and we'll just make all the monies.
But then you're going to get those rights, and then somebody else who actually owned the rights is going to step up, and they're going to lock it up at the 11th hour. I mean, that's heartbreaking. I feel bad for Jason. I really do. I know he was really looking forward.
It's a tough one.
To it.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay, because he's got his Aquaman trailer that is premiering at Comic-Con, and that is a movie that
good segue, Ellis. Good segue.
That's the only thing that I'm good at. That and brushing my teeth. So if you wake up in the morning and you go to Saturday Comic-Con panel, you know you can count on seeing Aquaman footage. That is really exciting, because Aquaman, again, 5 years ago, you talk about something like D&D, Aquaman was not the coolest character to talk about.
It was a joke on Entourage, for Christ's sake.
And now, James Cameron's Entourage. Now
talks to fishes.
Yeah, now Aquaman, it's like a real movie, and it's coming on Christmas, and everybody seems very excited about it. I think this trailer is going to blow the doors off of Comic-Con that morning on Saturday. He might have seen the damn thing already. How do you feel about it, Sneider?
I think we also got to look at a little bit of Aquaman footage at CinemaCon. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah?
I think James Wan is a really talented director who the DC universe is kind of lucky to have shepherding a small corner of it, and he has assembled a great cast. So I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product with the finished effects and all that jazz.
Perri Nemiroff, the Aquaman trailer, is that the biggest thing that you have kind of your senses geared towards Saturday morning, or is it something else that we might see at the DCU panel?
No, I think it's actually Aquaman at this point. I'm really excited for Wonder Woman, and I'm curious to see what Shazam is going to look like. But if I had to pick one thing from that panel to see, I am a diehard James Wan fan since day one, and it has been such a thrill to see his career go in all these different ways, some that I expected and then others that I didn't, and him to actually seize those very different opportunities and do something special with them. And I think he's going to get it here. That stuff that EW debuted, those images, I know they're just images and we're going to get a better sense of it when we see the footage, but those images are striking. There's a number of things in those. I still am hung up on that one behind-the-scenes photo with James in the picture where everything around them, it looked like it could have been a still pulled from the film, minus the fact that he was physically standing in it. I thought it looked stunning, and I can't wait to see it in actual footage.
Yeah, I mean, they had me at Army of Great White Sharks that the Atlanteans ride to battle. That's enough to get me to fork over the $13 for the movie. So you look at that, I think Wonder Woman 1984, they've been shooting it. Maybe you get some stuff. Shazam, probably going to get some stuff. So a very exciting panel to look forward to. But if I'm being honest, if I show up to that panel in Hall H that morning, it's the Warner Brothers panel too. So last year they had some really cool panels. They had Steven Spielberg for Ready Player One. This year, play the Boyster Cult, Cody. Thank you. Godzilla, King of All Monsters. I bet there's going to be footage, but you might even get a trailer. That's what I'm excited about. I think the cast is going to be down there. I want to see more Godzilla stuff. Who's with me? Joe, we riding into Godzilla together?
Love Godzilla.
God, that movie's going to be good.
Did you have the toy when you were a kid? And I don't know. I think I'm a little older than you. There was a big plastic Godzilla. You used to hit like this red lever on the back of his head, and this little vinyl flame used to come out of his mouth. And he had an arm. You'd press the button, and it would fire the fist off.
I never had the. No, I never had the. I don't think
you
I
know
had
what I'm talking about. Anyone? Am I the oldest person? Thank you. Yes. Thank you. People are nodding. Yeah. You know what I'm talking. They had a Rodan. You put your fingers in and you flew him around. Oh yeah, the Godzilla tail. You could turn it. Thank you. I forget the name of it, but I forget the name of the company. But it was this. Yeah, it was like a Japanese Godzilla. I had anyway. Yes, I love Godzilla. Damn it.
Okay,
look at me like I'm crazy.
Godzilla King Kong 2020. Who wins? What are the odds?
See, I always used to get mad that King Kong would win. I like Godzilla.
Really?
I wanted Godzilla to win. Right. But I always used to get in trouble as a kid for rooting for the monster. Like I rooted for Jaws, I rooted for Godzilla, I rooted for Darth Vader. I got upset when Han Solo spun him out.
We would have been friends.
Yes. And now I make streetwear with evil characters on the back.
Yeah, but I'm
going
going to have to draw a line in the sand there. I think King Kong, he's just too damn athletic for Godzilla. I think Godzilla's going to have a nice movie. I'm very excited about it. Love the first Godzilla that Gareth Edwards did. Now, I think Godzilla 2 is going to be cool, and then he's going to finally meet his doom at the hands of King Kong. Before we get to King Kong beating him, Godzilla 2, King of All Monsters, that could be a pretty cool panel, y'all.
I'm looking forward to that one as well. I mean, Warner Brothers has this is what they should be doing, by the way. If we don't have Marvel stealing the large majority of the spotlight, it's really exciting to see all of these studios step up and actually try to make a big impression for their films. Because we didn't even mention Bumblebee. Bumblebee is going to be there. Fox has something for Alita Battle Angel. And there's another one that I'm really looking forward to. And, you know, that trailer debuted, and I can understand why some weren't really feeling it. But I am a huge Rosa Salazar fan, and I'm waiting for the day where she just gets this project and it pops. And with Robert Rodriguez on that, I'm waiting to see more before I actually, you know, start to figure out what my firm impression is before seeing the final film. But I want them to do something special there.
Okay, I want to see you guys do something special right now. Go ahead and tweet us. We're going to take some of your live Twitter questions. Ask us the panel, ask Joe anything you want, and don't worry, I'll filter it, and it'll be okay. Jeff Sneider, we also have Deadpool 2 is going to have like a special thing. Is that the only thing from the world of Fox and then going into the MCU that we would see? Are you getting any inklings of anything else that might happen on Saturday?
From what I understand, I don't think that there's any X-Men presence down there this year, right?
Not that's been announced.
Right, because they have have two movies, Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, but both of them are going to be undergoing heavy reshoots, I think, next month. So I wouldn't expect to get footage from either one. But you know what would be interesting? I think if you saw some footage from Joe Cornish's movie, the children's film, right, with like a young King Arthur. I forget what the actual, maybe the kid who would be king or something. I would like to see some new footage from Joe Cornish because it has been way too long since Attack the Block.
All right. While I look that up, we have a good question that came in from J. Scott St. Clair on Twitter. And he just simply said, what is your best memory of Comic-Con? So, Jeff, you won't have any because you've never been. But Perri Nemiroff, your best memory.
Is that right? You've never been?
I've never. I said I will go.
Come to our party. Come to the Death Saves party.
All right.
See, you getting
Can I wear that jacket?
I'll get you one.
All right. Then
what size are you?
A large.
Large?
I'm a large.
Done deal. I'll get you hooked up with. I'll get you a Beholder T-shirt.
I love that shirt, by the way. I was going to ask you, is that your line or
this is Beholder. Yeah, we I hired an artist to kind of recreate a Beholder for us, uniquely for us.
I like that Vision of Doom. That's like a great that'd be like a good faction name in the Schmodown, Mark.
It's crazy with all the heavy things that I'm sure Joe has lifted in various gymnasiums around the world. The toughest feat of strength he's ever pulled off is getting you to come 2 hours down to San Diego to go to Comic-Con.
How do I turn down that kind of invite? I'll be there.
So that's going to be your best Comic-Con memory,
yes.
Without a doubt. Perri Nemiroff, what's the one thing that stands out in all of your years of going to Comic-Con?
There can't be one thing. I think this is going to be my 8th year. One great memory was definitely talking to the Power Rangers 2 years ago. Surprise, surprise. That thrilled me. I think if I had to pick one single Comic-Con memory that I'll never forget, it was when I was starting out at the very beginning and I couldn't get into Hall H. So I had to go and wait in line for Hall H. And I was really scared. There was a whole big line and I wasn't going to get to cover it for my outlet. I was freaking out. Get in the very back of the line, and I happened to have been standing behind people, a family who called themselves, Hall H pros, and they had lounge chairs, and they had coolers and umbrellas and everything, and they see me kind of standing next to them by myself, like playing on my phone, looking at my watch, and they said, come and sit, and I sat with them for hours with the lounge chairs. They gave me a drink, they let me charge my laptop and my phone, and they're like, don't worry, we're good right here. This is how you do it next time, so you can calm down and it'll be easy. And I don't know, just that vibe of everybody being there and looking out for each other and all celebrating stuff that you love. So I think I'm going to go with that one.
See, it's a fun vibe, Sneider. Get on down there. What's Joe? If I had to limit you to your favorite memory of Comic-Con, do you have one that stands out above all the other ones?
Well, probably walking out on stage for my first True Blood panel. So it was their third season, my first season, and walking out and it was 6,000 people. It was deafening, the amount of and just walking out on that stage. And
you never forget your first.
It was nuts. Well, but that wasn't my first Comic-Con.
Oh, okay.
I went a couple years before for this other movie I did, and I wound up, but I could walk the floor at that time. And I wound up meeting Stan Sakai, the guy who created Usagi Yojimbo, the Samurai Rabbit, and I have this framed marker pen drawing that he drew me and signed to me hanging up in my office. So
that's really cool.
That was the previous cool one.
Yeah, Christian and I were going down for schmoes every year since 2012. I think that might have been the year afterwards. We had this little site. We were trying to break some news on it, and we mentioned that Batman v Superman just got announced, and the site crashed instantly because so many people were going to it. So that's a pretty good memory. But nothing will top my buddy who happened to have an extra ticket to go see Metallica playing a secret show at Spreckles Theater.
I was there.
Were you there?
It was insane.
It was beyond awesome, and I got to hang out with Drew Brees in the beer line for about 10 minutes. He was just walking around talking to people. It was because you can't bring beer into the theater, so everybody's just out there just pounding beers beforehand. Then we go in and we rock out for 2 hours. It was just
the show was nuts. It was just greatest hits.
Yeah,
they went through the entire.
You guys are making me jealous.
I caught a Kirk Hammett guitar pick from that show.
Oh.
And I was up on the balcony, and I caught it.
It was like
Jedi.
That's awesome.
Mind trick. Yeah.
I was right behind all the Walking Dead cast was all there. Rocking out too. They opened with Creeping Death. It was amazing, y'all. So that's my best Comic-Con memory, but I'm sure we're all going to forge a lot of new ones in a matter of days here going down to San Diego again. Want to get to one more question for Joe, and that comes from Luis E. de la Pena. He says, Joe, if you could have played any character on Game of Thrones,
oh boy,
what character, maybe your favorite character?
On Game of Thrones, oh my God. God, there's so many good characters on that show. I would probably I would have liked to have played Ned Stark.
Ned Stark?
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
you get in and out.
Well,
Get that paycheck and then
well,
move
no,
on
I
to the
mean,
next.
seeing as how the rest of the series went, I mean, you'd want to be there for all of the seasons. But I just think there's a stoicism, I think, and a nobility to Ned Stark in this world of people who would do anything to get up on each other. And I think that there's something about playing a character like that who was like the only good one.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that Jon Snow isn't a good one, but you know, I think Ned was like the moral compass of that show.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Didn't end well for Ned. Like, Jon Snow's a good character, but he's also a zombie, so you can't really trust him, you know. So Ned Stark's really the only. That's a good Pittsburgh kid right here, Joe Manganiello. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, my man. You're always welcome to pop by. And once more, where can everybody check out all the stuff you're going to be doing at Comic-Con next week?
You can come on down to Bait on Thursday, July 19th. We'll be there all day, partying all night.
You can party with me, guys.
Yeah, you can party with Sneider and
Sneider, you may want to stop talking. Don't get yourself disinvited on the same show that you got invited to.
No, he's wild, man. We want him there. And then from there, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Death Saves on both.
Cool.
And get ready for the worldwide drop, which is going to be Friday the 20th. You'll be able to get everything you've seen online.
That's so cool, man.
Delivered to your
Friday
house.
the 20th, you can get it online wherever you may live. And then if you're around San Diego Comic-Con Friday night, come see me do stand-up at American Comedy Company. You also have to go to that, Jeff. If you're going to go to the party Thursday, you got to go to the stand-up show. Where can all the kids find you online, bud?
At the Sneider on Twitter and Instagram.
Perri Nemiroff.
Twitter and Instagram at P. Nemiroff.
All right, guys, that does it for us here today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for a brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. Throw it to the wide one more time. Another thank you to our special guest, Joe Manganiello. Hey, everybody, go home and investigate some Dungeons and Dragons. You'll be happy you did. See you tomorrow, everybody. Hey, everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.